The video taken outside the Crosby's gas station in Bolivar shows a struggle between two New York State troopers and a woman who police allege stole a car, resisted arrest, and injured both troopers in the process.
I mean, I was shocked and couldn't even.
Her mother, Yvonne, watching the video, couldn't believe what she saw, never thinking her daughter's own struggles would lead to this.
I do not condone what she did in any way, and I'm glad that the troopers are out of the hospital and they continue to recover. You know, people think she decided to do this one day. That's not the case. My daughter suffers with mental health and substance abuse issues.
Her daughter, 31-year-old Julia Gra, now facing 2 counts of attempted murder and other charges. Yvonne telling 2 on Your Side her daughter had threatened her father last week while on a 10-day meth-addicted bender that ultimately ended Saturday when 2 bystanders helped those injured troopers take her down.
Ultimately, this could have been a very different situation had they not been there. She was very, very combative, and due to the injuries of the troopers, this could have went a very different direction.
State police acknowledging that Groff had a previous record. Her mom, Yvonne, telling 2 on Your Side she called troopers several times last week to share her concerns. Yvonne wishes more could have been done to prevent the entire incident.
Regardless of what she did, people don't realize she's my daughter. She's somebody's mother, and she needs help. She's a great person. Lots of friends, but, eventually drugs cost you everything.
On Your Side, Rob Hackford, Channel 2 News.
It opens it back up again, but they also wanted people to know that there's 2 sides to the story.
So now, with a formal notice of intent to sue Orchard Park Police, attorneys representing the family of 31-year-old James Kushman trying to make their counter case to what town police say happened that night of last August 30th when Kushman was shot 7 times and later died. And now calling for state legislature action for police procedure changes in handling such mental health calls. Police last year stating that Kushman, with whom they had had previous contact without weapons involved, even days before, that August night called 911 to say there was a gun in their home and he was armed with this knife and using Ring doorbell video and audio of the encounter.
The first officer repeatedly orders Mr. Kushman to drop the knife. Mr. Kushman then states, "You should have shot me, dude."
But now the family's attorneys questioning the autopsy, showing gunshot wounds in Kushman's back, the apparent non-use of police body cameras, and the overall approach with even a 2021 police plan which called for crisis intervention training.
How much crisis intervention training did the officers have before that night? Did they escalate? Did they de-escalate? De-escalation is what they talk about when you're talking to somebody that has a mental health episode.
And in this case, he had something in his hand.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm not saying it. What I'm saying is that they knew at the time they showed up, when he had the knife in hand, that this gentleman had some mental health issues.
Would a police officer also think that he or she could be in great jeopardy by somebody coming at them with a knife?
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Of course. In the law states clearly, if you believe that you could be, that serious physical harm can come of you from a weapon, officers are allowed to discharge their weapons. I do not take issue with that. I do take issue with it in this case.
Orchard Park Police with a responding statement that their officers did follow procedures and the law with justification under self-defense, and that while they were returned to duty, the State Attorney General's office is still investigating. On Your Side, Ron Plants, Channel 2 News.
Today, rapper Kid Cudi pulled up to the court and testified that Sean Diddy Combs broke into his home after learning that he was dating Combs' former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. His Porsche was also set on fire. Combs has denied involvement. This week, the trial saw the first person with ties to Western New York on the witness stand. Carrie Morgan of Hamburg testified against the Bad Boy Records founder and former owner of Ciroc. She is the estranged best friend of Cassie Ventura, the ex-girlfriend of Combs, the woman who recounted years of abuse. Morgan was subpoenaed to testify and told the court, "I do not want to testify. I moved on with my life." She talked about a trip to Jamaica and being at a home in Los Angeles where she witnessed Combs' violence toward Cassie, dragging her by her hair, hitting and kicking her. She was questioned and recalled a violent encounter with Combs. He came up behind me and choked me and left finger marks on my neck and hit me in the head with a wooden hanger. That was in 2018. According to reporters inside the federal courtroom in New York, at Combs' request, she signed a non-disclosure agreement not to speak about the incident in exchange for a $30,000 payment. Diddy is 55, accused of using his fame to run a racketeering scheme, using violence and threats and forcing people into drug-fueled freak-off sex marathons. If convicted, the former Bad Boy exec could spend the rest of his life in prison.
In West Seneca, hundreds of dogs have been groomed at Buffalo Heart Dogs.
Little paws everywhere, big paws. Good boy.
But now there is a mission to help a very special dog outside of these walls.
We're all about community, and community means helping each other when it matters most.
More than a week ago, tragedy hit Hamburg when John and Joeen Pease's home exploded on West Lane. Joeen didn't survive. Her husband John is still recovering in a hospital in critical condition. And then there's Lucy, their beagle. Lucy suffered injuries in the explosion like broken bones and burns.
Where are you going?
As she recovers,
We exploring?
a GoFundMe has been made to help cover the costs of vet bills and care in her new home.
It breaks my heart because she went through this really traumatic event.
Coming together to help
It's very heartwarming, especially, all that Lucy's been through.
in the best way this grooming salon knows they can.
We are offering Lucy baths and nail trims for the rest of her life to keep her comfortable and happy. We want to be able to provide some sort of relief for the next people who take her on. I don't think people realize that dogs also go through trauma. It's going to take some adjusting, and so coming together as a community for her is something that we can provide.
Here at Northgate Manor in North Tonawanda, caregivers are still on strike. Now I'm going to step out of the way and let you get a grid look at what's currently happening. Caregivers are actually striking in front of the entrance and exit and are blocking cars from coming in and going out. They have moved for a few of the cars, but for the most part, they are marching strong in front of that exit. Now, as you can hear, they are chanting. They've got plenty of supporters from cars beeping as they drive by. People we've spoken to claim their management group will not budge in contract negotiations. The workers are calling for better wages, more staffing, and better health insurance. And they've told us that if they were paid more and had better benefits, more people would be inclined to work here. Today and yesterday, we've been telling you about two workers here at Northgate who have family members inside that they are not currently allowed to see while they are on strike.
My dad's been here since 2017, and I work here, so I see him every day. I bring him in things, take care of him, make sure everybody's good, and now they won't even let me in. I can't even go across to see him.
I take care of her every day, and she's probably yelling out for me and all that. It's hard.
Carrie also mentioned that the last time they were on strike, their management was more supportive of them and that they've always had a great relationship with their managers up until now. Tiffany hopes that they can come to a new contract by Friday afternoon, but if they don't, she says they will stand on the picket lines at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day until next Tuesday. For now, on your side in North Tonawanda, Natalie Foss, Channel 2 News.
It's the commencement clip that's gone viral. More than 6 million TikTok views and counting. A University at Buffalo grad running up to the stage with his baby in hand. Well,
Papa.
That graduate was Jean-Paul Al-Arab. Originally from Lebanon, he's now a UB grad with a degree in criminology.
I've asked last semester if I could walk with my baby in a commencement prep session, and they were like, yeah, it's okay, no one's gonna tell you no.
But per UB's commencement rules, no one but the graduate is allowed on stage.
So they said it was a safety hazard. They don't want the baby on stage.
His response was,
I won't walk then. I won't be walking, and I ran. That's what I did. you know. I had to. I promised him I'm gonna walk with him on the stage. I had to walk with him on the stage or run with him on the stage, you know.
In a statement shared with Two on Your Side, the university said commencement rules are in place for the safety of all those in attendance and to avoid disruptions in the venue, ensuring each graduate is equally provided with a well-deserved moment to individually cross the stage and be recognized for their outstanding accomplishments at UB. They went on to say that John Paul had apologized for the disruption in an email to the commencement officials on Sunday afternoon.
I have nothing against UB. I love UB. I graduated from UB. I'm doing my master's right now at UB. It's a great college. I love my professors, everyone.
And as for John Paul's son, he may have stolen the spotlight, but not quite a diploma. UB says the infant, despite crossing the stage in a cap and gown, has not yet earned enough credits to receive a diploma. We hope to see him back on stage in about 20 years so he can follow in his dad's footsteps.
Native American heritage. History.
We fight for our traditions and our heritage, because these are all the things that have been affected over the last 500 years.
And now that the world has learned about the atrocities at boarding schools like the Old Thomas Indian School on the Cattaraugus Territory in western New York, the governor wants Indigenous nations' history, culture, and contributions taught.
We will acknowledge as a state the role we played. The path is not always easy moving forward, but it must include the collective movement to reclaim dignity.
Seneca President J.C. Seneca.
We talk about education, about the state earmarking money to come to have effect here on territory in our language programs.
The state will rely heavily on engagement with Indigenous nations to create the material.
The educational piece that Governor Hochul mentioned was a dedication as part of her 2025 State of the State commitments and policies, as well as the budget. And what that education piece is going to be geared toward is the development of educational materials for K through 12 learners across the state.
I reached out to the Buffalo Public School District, who used a Two on Your Side special on the Thomas Indian School for a history lesson. A spokesperson for the district tells me that Buffalo is already incorporating Indigenous history into courses.
We have to educate not only the outside communities, but our people about what has occurred here on our territory.
Beneath the calm, peaceful waters of the Erie Canal lies a conflicted history, one that celebrates an engineering marvel that brought prosperity to Buffalo, the other, a story of displacement and demise. Terry Abrams is a Tonawanda Seneca and the curator of the Niagara County Historical Society.
All of New York State, west of Canandaigua, is Seneca territory. And, this treaty was signed by George Washington, who said that this would be the Seneca's homeland forever.
The Canandaigua Treaty was signed in 1794 and established peace between the Haudenosaunee and the United States. But a series of treaties between the state and the individual nations, some legal, others questionable, reduced their footprint significantly. Melissa Leonard's ancestor, Red Jacket, played a key role in the Canandaigua Treaty. She says that once then-Governor DeWitt Clinton championed the idea for the Erie Canal, Indigenous people had a target on them.
We were in the way, and he wanted to build the canal, and we needed to be removed.
Right from the beginning, there's this effort to take the land and to profit from it.
The Buffalo Creek treaties ultimately carved up the western portion of the state and established the Buffalo Creek, Allegheny, and Cattaraugus territories, along with the lands of the Tonawanda branch of Senecas. This as the Erie Canal was cutting a path across ancestral lands and accelerating the displacement of Indigenous people.
We were concentrated on territories with boundaries that we were meant to stay on, and it was the first step towards removal.
So this had a very detrimental impact on your Indigenous people.
It was a devastating impact on our people of the Haudenosaunee.
Seneca Nation President J.C. Seneca adds that this is a part of our past that's been left out of the history books. In fact, as Governor Clinton was leaving Buffalo Harbor to carry Lake Erie water to New York and perform the ceremony coined the Wedding of the Waters, he did so on a boat called the Seneca Chief, a name that might celebrate the people or mock them,
depending on your perspective.
What it did was it came through all of the different territories from Mohawk all the way here to Seneca, and basically pushed our people from their homeland.
Further east, your Oneida and Onondaga, their territory was right in the path of the Erie Canal, and so there was even more of an effort to try and displace them.
So, as we celebrate the bicentennial of this transformative waterway this October, it's important to remember transformation is not always positive.
It was June 2023 when the Seneca Nation and New York State announced that framework for a new gaming compact. It maintained revenue sharing between the state and the Senecas and would have allowed them to build a casino in the Rochester area. Why did it all fall apart? Nobody told the Rochester area lawmakers, and when they found out, boy, were they mad. After nearly a week of vocal opposition, that framework was dead, and what little trust there was between the two sides also withered away.
The fact that the governor had a bad deal and has not been able to negotiate a deal should not have a negative impact on those host communities, like Salamanca, which I represent.
Seneca Nation President J.C. Seneca is trying to move on from that framework, one that he wasn't a part of negotiating as he was just elected last fall.
What happened in the past, we can't change. We had an agreement in terms, a term sheet that failed to get moved forward because of a certain, dynamics that was going on at the time.
And there seems to be renewed spirits from both sides after Governor Hochul visited the Seneca Nation on Tuesday to formally apologize for the atrocities committed at the Thomas Indian School. A gesture of good faith by the governor that she wants to turn the page as it pertains to the state's relationship with the Seneca Nation.
We agreed that we continue conversation about the casino pact after I had this opportunity to go have a very positive experience with them and to continue building trust. And I'm looking forward to the conversations about the casinos. It's part of my agenda for the upcoming year.
State Senator George Borrello believes that the landscape for gaming in Western New York has drastically changed since the compact was signed more than 20 years ago. Since then, the state has opened several casinos and slot machine operations that have impacted the exclusivity the Seneca Nation once held.
I hope that for the sake of the Seneca Nation and also for the many host communities which I represent, that this is going to move forward expeditiously with a recognition of the fact that the current compact is a completely unfair deal for the Seneca Nation and needs to be changed.
President Seneca on Tuesday echoed the sentiment of the governor that talks will eventually resume.
If we have patience, we have a commitment and a process to follow, we can get it done, and we will.
Now, neither the Seneca Nation president or Governor Hochul would confirm when those talks will resume, but any deal that is reached needs to be approved by the state legislature, and their session ends on June 12th. On your side in downtown Buffalo, Nate Benson, Channel 2 News.
Having already secured a dock space to develop and from which to operate in St. Catharines, Hoverlink has now inked a lease for dock space near the Island Airport on the Toronto waterfront. The trip between the two cities would take about a half hour aboard a hovercraft like this one that can carry up to 180 passengers, which would operate year-round.
These are some pretty interesting craft that can be very competent across Lake Ontario, which gets some pretty interesting sea states in the wintertime.
But by floating above waves or ice, that's not a problem.
What's critical about that is when you're launching a new mode of transit, you need to ensure that it's reliable, that people know that when they show up, that it's there, it's functioning, and they can get across the lake.
A difference, she says, between their plan and a host of others, which have come and gone over the years without materializing.
That's been critical, is to understand why did they fail, one, craft competency, and two, poor business planning, and to assure that we can do this and function well into the future.
A future where they envision not only tourists taking trips between Toronto and the Niagara region of Ontario, but also commuters making daily trips instead of using GO trains or the QEW.
We really want to ensure that people can take it more consistently and not utilize it just once in a while. I think the critical part is to get the masses using it. So we're probably looking at anywhere between 2 to 3 years out at this point, but we are anticipating and anxiously awaiting some type of resolution to some of the tariff conversation ongoing between our two great countries.
It's going to be events and markets and food festivals and music and nightlife and just everything in between.
Josh Holtzman and Grace Vaneski are the owners of Buffalo Iron Works. They're also the strategic advisors for Savarino DL&W Development LLC, a group that's working with the Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority to help transform Buffalo's waterfront.
It is an indoor and outdoor space that will be operating 24/7 year-round, which Buffalo hasn't really been able to see. And then on top of it being the waterfront, like, we're just so excited to be able to activate all of the aspects we've learned from so many different jobs, so many different places, and bring it home.
Holtzman and Vaneski say in addition to running ironworks, they've also gained experience through their event managing company called 26 Productions, working with clients including M&T Bank, the Buffalo Bills, and Step Out Buffalo. Holtzman says construction of DL&W Terminal is already underway.
It is fully funded. There was also world-class consultants who were involved in the actual study and the market research to prove that this is a viable thing to have down here. And it's just going to be a really exciting adventure for everybody that's involved.
We've found success in when we're active, it is active down here, but if we're not programming, the arena's not programming, there's not much going on. So it's nice that we're going to reactivate an old space.
Bills Mafia is out in full force at Highmark Stadium. But this time, it's not for a playoff run.
Here to have some fun, you know, possibly being in the background of the Hallmark movie here.
A Hallmark movie shoot starring none other than Bills Mafia had fans like Monique Durant.
I'm most excited for like my grandkids maybe to catch me in a little quick scene.
Hoping for their big moment on screen.
It's like perfect. Just anything representing the Bills. I want to be a part of it, anything. And when you throw Hallmark in there, perfect combination.
Fans excited about the chance to be featured in a movie not only starring Hollywood actors, but Bills players of past and present like Dion Dawkins.
We just want to be part of it. It's I don't know, the Bills Mafia, you know, you call anything for the Bills, they're going to show up.
Crews were inside of the stadium for hours, turning Highmark Stadium into somewhat of a Hollywood movie set.
We saw them filming, someone was running like to make a touchdown or whatever. That was really fun.
The filming is giving the Bills a different kind of national spotlight, but it's only fueling fans' excitement for the season ahead.
Go Bills!
Everyone, looked at us as the small little team, and now, we're in the spotlight, and we're going to be on all the, prime time spots, and I can't wait for the new season to start.
On your side, Alyssa Clausel, Channel 2 News.
My phone doesn't stop ringing. I get pulled in a million different directions.
That's what life is like when you coach a player like Elijah Kimble.
We're really starting to see almost every school in America reach out or either offer them scholarship.
The Canisius Rising Jr. is not just the top-ranked running back in the state. He's one of the top players in the country. He's ranked as a 4-star recruit and 10th best running back in the class of 2027, according to 24/7 Sports.
I learned a lot. I was just watching my freshman film earlier, and I could see how I've grown as a person, as a player.
At 5'10", 180, Kimble isn't the biggest player on the field, but with almost 1,800 yards and 33 touchdowns as a sophomore, he stands out in a different way.
Explosive. I can hang my hat on that for sure. Coaches say they can see me catching screens and being more than just a running back, being a weapon, because I can catch the ball, I can be explosive, so stuff like that.
That trait catching the eye of coaches all around the country, with Kimble already at 33 offers, including from some powerhouse programs.
Washington, Oregon, Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State. It is crazy because you get asked on the spot, it's like, oh, I got to remember all these, but it's a blessing to have that many.
It's the most recent one that excites Kimble the most, with the Georgia Bulldogs making the trip north to visit with Kimble and extend him an offer.
It showed them that they were very serious on me, and I was very grateful because for you to take time out your day to come see me, that means a lot, especially with all that goes on as a coach. You might have had another back you could have went to see, another player in general, but you decided to come up here to cold Buffalo, New York, and take your time out to see me, so I was very blessed.
Kimble says he could see himself playing college football in the South, but he still has 2 seasons of high school football before he gets there. He says for now, his focus is on getting a state title to Canisius and on showing younger players from Western New York that they too can get national attention.
I get a lot of messages from kids that they say they want to be like me, and how do I do it? And I just tell them, you just got to keep your faith. I was once you. I had guys I looked up to, such as Nick McMillan. He'd go to UB. I looked up to him because we played with the same Little League team, and he was just that guy to me. That's my biggest thing, just showing everybody it's possible. You don't have to go all the way out here to do it. You can stay right in your hometown and just put the work in and show them that we lit out here.
On your side in Buffalo, Jonathan Acosta, Channel 2 Sports.